Hello everyone. Let's see. By gum. Okay. So I have psyched myself up for this. Really have psyched myself up for this. Mainly because I have a feeling I will be at some point shouting about Star Wars. I will get the book out. I prepared the presentation yesterday. And then I spent most of the night recording other things. Basically, I decided to pick as my baseline starting point the ships because, well, as I tell you all on many occasions, you can tell a lot about a nation's strategy from their ships, from what they are planning on. Ooh, that does ride up my bum. Well, apologies everyone. So, I'm using this book, primarily, and I've been given a lovely other book, sent it to me on Discord, which I downloaded onto my phone, and I have been reading through merrily on my phone. It's been a fun time, I have to admit, because, well, there are a lot of interesting things when you start reading these books. I will also add something else. Where the two books disagreed, I have gone with the response from... Hang on. Small problem. Small problem. I have that. Back in half a second. Forgot the iron brew glass. Very, very important thing. So, literally back in a second. Crisis averted. If you can already guess, I'm not a big fan of the Tarkin Doctrine. Honestly, yeah, this is gonna be fun. I don't often get to eviscerate entire civilizations and doctrines. I have to usually be nice. At least find something positive I can talk about. This time I don't have to be. Star Wars Space Combat Doctrine is abysmal. Honestly. There is the fact that they seem to regress every now and again. And you're never quite sure why. Yes, there is this whole, we get rid of our armed forces to be more peaceful, and so we don't have a strong federal central government, we don't have a strong massive military, we all have our own independent militaries. That usually leads to competition, with all sorts of powers having all sorts of militaries, because, guess what? The big neighbour next door tends to move into you. And as for, we're going to allow private companies to have their own militaries, that's fine. That's quite common. This is I'm British. This is the East India Company and various other things all over again. Hudson Bay Company, all sorts of things. That's fine. But usually, again, it leads to a decent amount of competition. And trouble is, you get in Star Wars the ideology that capitalism also automatically means you're building things according to the lowest price, which is the American capitalist model, perhaps, when you look at their military procurement, and might make us all worry a bit. But if you look at the East India Company, when they were doing it, when the company was responsible, their uniforms were considered better and made of better quality material than the British armies were. They pushed for them. They often had the finest quality weaponry and the finest quality guns. Everything they could get, they got them the finest quality. And they were absolutely fastidious about A, not using mercenaries, and B, hiring and promoting the best. Why? Because a well-armed, well-trained, led efficiently armed force is going to deal with problems far quicker and far more cheaply than a cheap, crappy force will do. So it's kind of simple, a simple model. If you want to go for the most cost-effective approach, you actually spend some money. This is my big problem with battle droids. I'm not going to get it into the whole the droids thing and the whole they're going to have a single point of failure. This is a universe where you have hand-wavy magic going on all the freaking time, where Jedi are a known quantity. Why would you have a single point of failure? Why? No economic... And they sort of go, yes, and it's the Trade Confederation. If any organisation is not going to want a single point of failure, it's going to be a Trade Confederation. Because who is going to understand choke points better than a trading organisation which has to deal with them? They're going to be obsessed with it. Anyway. Hello, Carl Asberg. Hello, Peter Dawson. Hello, Lamar Henry. Hello. I don't think I've seen you before. Hello, Rick Basava. Hello, DG40. Hello, that guy named Dan. Hello, Albert Zaski. Hello, The Plebiscite. Hello, New IQE4472. Hello, Shumi. Hello, Aviator Enterprise. Hello, Dan Freeman. Hello, Wayne Borean. Hello, everyone. Hello, Gordon Collins. Hello, Agnes Lowe. Hello, John Self. Hello, Tim Cullen. Sorry for missing before. What's the status of your book on DDs? C4 Publishing says not till September now. I think it is going to be September later this year. Now, the reason I think it's going to be later this year is I've heard rumours, though I have not had this confirmed in writing, and it is only rumours from a very nice chatty friend who works there. But if there are enough sales, especially in America, they might pay for me to go on a book tour and book signing tour to drum up even more sales. So, basically, pre-order, please. If you want to see me coming to America and me not have to pay the bill. I don't mind. I'll probably pay the bill and come to America anyway because I want to go and do research there. But, you know, if I had the money. If someone else is prepared to pay for me, then I'll be over far sooner. Oh, good old COVID has wiped out all the financial reserves. Anyway. Like, oh god, we can't start with Iron Brew. No, we can't start. I had the Iron Brew, I didn't have the glass. Good afternoon, Blue Shirt Buddha. Good afternoon, Dylan Atar. Tarkin Doctrine focused too much on fear and control, not enough on actually fully combat capable ships. We'll be getting into that. Hello, Grace Sarsky. Also, there's the fact that the Tarkin Doctrine seems to survive after he's dead. Hello, Zachary Gherkin. Well, when it kicks off first, they haven't had a war in centuries, apparently. Yeah, right. They've been fighting on the edges the whole time. So, again, you're going to have all these sort of military bases. There is Tarkin himself. There is all sorts of... There's Wolf. There's all sorts of officers they have. That's the other thing. They then decide, and the Republic goes and puts her and goes, we'll put the Jedi in charge of the armies. Actually, they have done that in the past. The Jedi have proved fairly decent generals. But they draw the Jedi generals from a certain part of the Jedi. Not just every Jedi go. And there's your big problem. Every Jedi go. Why? Because we've run out of the Sentinel Jedis. Oh, great. Why did you stop recruiting them? We didn't think we needed a war. You're the fricking Jedi. You're a military knight order. You weren't recruiting in case of a war? Again, this seems strange. If you're supposed to be always on guard against the dark side, surely the first thing you do is make sure you had enough of the guards against the dark side. It's a convenient plot point they don't. Hello. Let's see. Hello, Yickers. Alright, lol, I've been working on some videos of my own about science and technology. You and Drac have convinced me that anything involving warships has to involve Iron Brew. True, it does. Hello, anime sunglasses. No, we're not getting into this already. That will start me complaining too early. I'm going to say it's August 15th now. Ooh. Hello, Dan Freeman. Thank you, for taking this on. You're going to need some good brew, and Amazon says about £10 a bottle. I will probably need this. Actually, no, I've already drunk a fairly large amount of Iron Brew today because of recording all the Dreadnought videos. They are done. You will be having a video, at least one video, every day next week coming out. But aside, as an aside, boy could the Empire design an aesthetic ship. The ISD is amazing looking. It is amazing looking. They just... I will not get onto the ISD just yet. I will get onto the ISD in a bit. Hello, Team Looker. Hello, Portugal. The Jedi Agricultural Corps is more important for galactic peace than the Knights. I would agree they are of equal importance. And the Jedi Agricultural Corps is frankly freaking cool. I do agree. But don't use them to fight wars. Shumin, not recruiting the numbers required sounds like a logistics fail. It is. Cloud the visions of the future the dark side does, Dan Freeman. Maybe, but frankly, it doesn't matter even if you're looking in the future and thinking you're still going to be rosy. You're still buying armed forces. No, it's not they didn't step up recruitment and training. They didn't even have any recruitment and training. This is the thing. If you look up the Sentinels, and if you look them up in all the various sources, the Sentinels have dropped away. They're not being recruited. And the Sentinels are the ones who go out and find the dark side. They are usually the critical assets for protecting the temple, amongst other things. For wandering around the universe and making sure to find the dark side. And you haven't been recruiting enough of them? Why ever not? The videos are shorter than the Guadalcanal series, I have to admit, because what I did was I aimed them to about half an hour on each year. One year has got 2 videos. But I was aiming for each one to be roughly half an hour. Because I notice most people watch, when in my recorded videos, the most number of people seem to watch about 26 to 27 minutes. And I thought if I made them 30-minute sort of half lectures, they'd like them. John South, I don't know about not using the Jedi Agricultural Corps in war, as I've seen some pretty nasty farmers. Yes, but usually they're not generals. Although there are a few do. So let's start off with the general panning. For starters, if it is too big, why the frick do you have it? Secondly, if it's called a battle cruiser, it's supposed to be going out solo and dealing with the various issues around the galaxy for trade. So it's not a battle cruiser. It's a fricking dreadnought or a battleship. If it's just sitting around at home. If it's sitting around at home and is quite so strong, how in the name of all things holy do you not have enough sitting around your capital planet to blast any attacking fleet to pieces? Now, and finally, this is the most important thing. You again, and repeatedly they say it's not deployed because it's so resource heavy. Surely the one place you would have had enough resources you could easily manage to maintain it is your capital city, and yet you do not have it there where it could have blasted any attacking fleet to freaking pieces. And I realise the person in charge of your empire, your republic, is dictator, whatever your name is, your chancellor is frankly playing both sides against each other. I do understand that. But still, the Jedi are supposed to be generals here. It doesn't take a strategic genius. I have a very powerful, useful warship that is incredibly logistically heavy. I will put them at my home base so they will free up my other logistically lighter ships to go forward and fight the war. Amazing! I have solved my problem. They carry 96 starfighters, 36 shuttles, 16 landing craft, 20 to 40 gunboats, 12 assault craft, 4 landing barges. They can deploy 15,000 soldiers. 15,000 clones could come out of that thing. Where is it? And don't take this the wrong way, but we're always talking about political sabotage. But again, if Boris Johnson turned round to the First Sea Lord and said, you know what, you don't need any ships to defend the UK while you're fighting this war around the world, just, send them off there. The First Sea Lord would look at him and go, oh, very good, sir. Yes, sir. You don't have any operational control, sir. They had the same arguments with Churchill in World War II. He didn't have operational control. He didn't have operational control in World War I. He could act as an advocate for operations. He could act as a decider for operations. He could propose them and suggest them. But he can't get down to the level of actually sending them against sending them or getting rid of forces from against the chief's advice. That's not the way it works. The militaries do not. Now, again, we are told that the Jedi are put in charge of running the war. Presumably that means the Jedi Council becomes the chiefs of staff and the military council. That is what they are portrayed as. That's what we see the scenes of. And this doesn't happen. And there are all sorts of various actual proper admirals and actually proper military officers who they do promote, who are fairly good fighting for the Republic, and then quickly become, many of them become imperial officers after, who they do also prove fairly effective, yet still, we are encouraged to believe that not one of these officers, not one of these luminaries of the Jedi, actually turned around and went, nah, I can understand your idea, sir, but that would leave us critically exposed. Or are you going to tell me that every single senior officer had the ego of a fricking mountain? In which case, why had they had their butts handed to them so many times already in the war? If that hadn't checked their ego, then nothing else was going to. About 50,000 and about 14,000 have to walk and plant outside. Yeah, that was going through my mind as well, but you can deploy them. Gone Connors, when do we get the Sith ships not knowing which way is up? I understand that is a plot point for the most recent film. I will be getting to them. I have left the First Order ships till the end because I get really, really rude when it comes to First Order ships. Because, ultimately, my problem is not with the Maelstrom class, it's how it's used. Because actually, the Maelstrom class is pretty decent as things go. We are told it's massively resource heavy. Most large ships are. I'm surprised there aren't actually in existence, but, there are. Wayne Boring, guys like us who think logically drive writers nuts. They hate being criticised for being lazy. Johnny said, I've never gotten the feeling that the Jedi were actually in Chief Staff position. Very divided command structure. There we will go into the whole command structure. And also, here's the thing. If you've had a load of planetary commands, and you form a combined command structure, which is going to take over, then surely you would subsume all those senior officers or the planetary officers into your command structure. And then you would have your generals, you would have your admirals, you would know, well, you see, there's the general on Naboo who actually beat up that droid army. Yeah! Oh, yeah, he can be a ground forces. He would be a fairly good one to go for a ground forces commander. And this and that. And then there's a tiny percent of a fraction thereof that 100% if I'd wager your current view is 100% of all the time. Also, it's not bad. They're just about got their brain up a pee is all. Yeah, possibly. There are a fair number of viewers, I have to admit, who do watch a full live and a full recorded video. I don't know. So, here are my favourite ships ever in the entirety of Star Wars. The Acclimator class. And this tells you how useful a ship. It has 3 Venators as escorts. Okay? My favourite Star Destroyer is probably the Venator class. I am quite honest, I admit that I think the warships in the Clone Wars make far more sense every day of the week than the ones do in the Imperial fricking Navy, and let alone definitely not the First Order. And I am not even touching the giant hawk thing that the New Republic produces after the fall of the Empire, because yes, it's beautiful, it's very heavily armed. Why do its guns fire forward? Will no enemy ever appear behind it? You're in space. It's kind of like the sea, but with added dimensions of movement. Viable. So, here's the thing about the Acclimator class. 16,000 clone troopers, so they can carry a full 1,000 more than this thing. They have 12 quad-turbo laser turrets, 24 laser cannons, and 4 heavy strategic missile torpedo launchers. Wow, this all makes sense! They carry missiles/torpedoes? Well, hey! They carry laser cannons? Yes! Turbo lasers as well, yes! This is in a ship which is a few hundred meters, 752 meters long. It's actually could claim to have something in the region of a level of point defense. And only has a crew of 700, but can carry 16,000 soldiers. Can carry all sorts of heavy vehicles. It's amazing. Here's a question. Where did it all freaking go? They're fast as anything. If I was the Rebel Alliance, the first thing I'd gone round is every shipyard, scrapyard I could get, and hoover up any Acclimator which was still there. They're useful. If I was the Imperials, I would never disband them. I would have rapid reaction forces sitting them going, hello, we have a problem on this planet. Hello, you now have 160,000 soldiers. 192,000 soldiers in orbit above you. How do you feel about being friendly? They got 256,000 soldiers above you. You're feeling very friendly. I like you. Yeah. Clone troopers fully armed. Hang on, so, were the Jedi in charge of procurement logistics? Perhaps the intention to abandon all attachments undercut logistical competence. That's the weird thing. They seem to have different people in charge of logistics, different people in charge of procurement, and then the Jedi in charge of military operations. It's just weird. Blue Shirt Buddha. What would the Star Wars equivalent of the Blackburn be? The TIE tank, possibly. Vision. Why have one-man starfighters limited endurance when small corvettes like Millennium Falcon and Ghost do so well against both fighters, starships, and space stations? Well, basically, fighters are there as part of your defense screen, and you're part of your offense screen as well. What sort of percentage do you get to watch the entirety? It tells you, right? It gives you a rough idea. And I'm at about 20%, depending on the video, watch the entirety. Have I sorted a guest issue for next week yet? I don't think we have a bilge pumps next week because of my research trip, because I have to go off tomorrow, and I don't get back till Friday. I'm hoping, I'm not sure, Drac and Jamie might record one without me, in which case we'll be up to episode 51, because episode 50 went live this week. Or alternatively, 51 and 52 will be recorded in June. And I was saying, I think that's where all the political sabotage comes in. Keep all the incompetent officers away from positions where they can actually organise stuff. There aren't that many incompetent. Let's put it this way. You soon see there are a lot of competent officers wandering around. Incompetent officers in the Star Wars universe tend to get themselves killed quite quickly. But it's about the size of a Victory class Star Destroyer. Manly 16040. Enemies can't appear behind it, Dr. Glau. The sheer mahusively thick plot armor prevents it. Plot armor. But the Victory can actually skim atmosphere for bombardment purposes. Leon Peters Malone's. Ah, yes, Star Wars. The great we're making this up as we go along universe. Well, you do start to feel like that sometimes. That dream. Alex Clark's fleet of acclimator class friendships. Yes. Hello. You have a lot of friends in orbit above you. We would like to say hello. Carmen, is the Falcon in this? No, I like my blood pressure. Have I missed much? Not yet. The photo side. One thing to remember is that the TIE was to be replaced with the ABXY series, but design teams defected to the Rebels. I think the ABXY series were all various developments of fighters which were already in production. And don't take this the wrong way, but I'm fairly sure that there are enough designers in the universe who are decent who could improve on the TIE fighter. So, my favourite Star Destroyer. Why is it my favourite Star Destroyer? Because it's a freaking carrier. And actually, that makes a lot of sense to me. I am one of those people who cannot understand why the Venators are not the model that the future Star Destroyers are built from. It's a case of, yes, you want to have all that firepower, certainly, but having a great big central hangar that you can deploy all your fighters at in one go makes a lot of sense. And that hangar space is frankly brilliant. That's so much space. Now, I can understand for the Empire that these were too associated with the Jedi and were called the Jedi Star Destroyer, but it actually looks like a Sith Star Destroyer. It's got the angular structure. That's another thing. Surely the Jedi noticed that all the ships were appearing looked like the Sith-style Star Destroyers from earlier generations and earlier wars. Surely they noticed the wedge shape appearing. But, saying that, you have a lot of firepower sitting there. And it's forgotten. It's a case of, one of the things I would like on these ships is more missiles. I think that the fact that the Venator doesn't seem to, how do I put this, have missiles is a big thing. It's got 8 heavy turbo laser turrets. Cool. It's got 2 medium dual turbo laser cannons. Sensible. 52 point defense laser cannons. It's got point defense! I'm so happy. It's only it's only 1100 meters. Again, why is this during the Clone Wars? They understand the concept of point defense, and they have better fighters. Sorry, ranting. I do apologize. But here's the thing: it carries 192 V-wing starfighters, which are the predecessors, forebears of the TIE fighters. The TIE fighters come from the V-wing sort of generation. 192 Eta 2 Actis class interceptors, 36 ARC 170 starfighters. So in reality, this thing's carrying 410 starfighters. This makes sense because it's basically going, well, we've got our V-wing starfighters as part of our attacking force. They're small, nimble, they're going to dodge around. We've got the heavy arc starfighters who will blast their way through any opposition. And then we have interceptors to defend ourselves. This all kind of makes sense. It's a sensible ship. Oh, and it's got quite a heavy defensive stuff itself. So, it all makes sense. The Venator class makes sense to me. If I was going to pick any of the ships we are talking about today to actually command in combat, I would probably take a Venator class and upgrade it. Quite simple. It's got a huge space inside it. It's got a lot of power. You could probably upgrade it quite easily to have some fairly decent heavy shielding units as well added on. Which would make sense. Give me a heavy shielding unit around it. Then watch me blast my way through most Star Destroyers. Sorry, ranting, mic clipping. Okay, so. There is actually a good definition. So, the turbo laser is a scaled up version of the blaster, so it's far more rapidly firing. Therefore, it tends to be used as your defensive system. Ion cannons in the Star Wars world tend to be used as disabling weapons. Turbo lasers tend to be used as sort of your defensive / anti-ship capability. So when you've got a heavy turbo laser turret, it's your anti-ship capability. Your medium turbo laser weapon, consider that anti-ship versus also heavy anti-fighter corvette. Small things coming in, and then you've got your point defense laser cannons, which are your rapid firing systems for engaging enemy attacking forces, fighters basically. So if you hear them talking about laser cannons, that's point defense. If you hear them talking about turbo lasers, well, if they're medium, that's area defense. If they're heavy, they're attack. That's roughly what I usually experience when I'm talking about Star Wars. Hope that answered the question. I enjoy this book. I enjoy the fact that it has that graphic in it. Broadly speaking. It also has 6 tractor beam projectors, and usually it's usually described as 4 proton torpedo tubes as well. So I was wrong about saying, well, it's only 4, and they don't have the missile or missiles as well. They just have the proton torpedo tubes. But you know, that's still better than nothing. They are a useful ship and a useful transport. They are a general purpose asset. And what I liked about their heavy turbo laser cannon is they are mounted, and I'm not sure if you can see them, but if you look at the fins which come up, you have 4 mounted along at the lower point, along each one. So that they are broadside firing tools, but that's still fairly decent for the capabilities. I have to admit, I would prefer it if they had some firing fore and aft, and they had those better positioned. And myself, I'd have probably stacked them up. But there again, that's me. I'm a naval historian. I will always think about fields of fire, not necessarily what it looks coolest. Hello, Lone Cash. Could be worse. The space fighters in the original Battlestar Galactica had turbo. Oh, good lord. Lone Cash, have we mentioned the blind spot? No exit windows behind the Executor class Star Destroyer's conning tower yet? Not yet, no. Royal Bowler, hello. Don't think I've seen you before. That sounds stupid, but why do Yamato and Bismarck seem to me, to me like they might fit the Tarkin doctrine? They do. You have a massive, apparently supreme fighting weapon that's actually got a glass chin. Guys, back in the days, turbo lasers used energy banks, i.e. large capacitors, to fire less frequency but more powerful blast. Thank you. Basically, what was the crew serve weapon the dude set up outside that bar to shoot them out in the Mandalorian? I have no idea. I haven't watched that episode of The Mandalorian. Robo, I mean, big and scary, but not as good as they are large. Let's think about this. Oh man, now I'm going to have to convince you to do another episode of this. There are going to have to be a few episodes on this if I want to get in, if I'm going to do the full details of all these ships. The Venator class makes sense for me. Yes, I have to admit I would move. As I said, those guns would be moved around for me. I would have I would have 3 forward with one raised up center and 2 lower side, and then 2 more back raised up, 2 more, and then 1 round. So I'd have the 8 sort of positioned round. So you come from the aft. I've got these 2, this one that can all fire at you. So I've got 5 that I can aim at you. You come from this side, I've got 5 that can aim at you. You come from this side, I've got 5 that can aim at you. Whichever way you come from, I've got 5 cannon out of 5 of my dual heavy cannon that can aim at you. And that's how I would do it. And the medium ones, I'd have them on my base. Literally, down on the base going... I'd probably put 3 down there, actually, I have to admit, though. I know they have a crane unit and all sorts of things, but I would put the medium ones down underneath and just go... They're here. And then keep all the point defense all around. All around. They're good ships, though. Afternoon, Jeff Hiller. Refuels of fire. Ammo functional designs do look better. They do. And we'll see the fluff. Hello! The Venators were pretty darn good capital ships as far as I remember seeing that. They were. The Sandash. Hello. The Maker Missile Heavy Venator. Place hard to hang on the biggest ever system. Pair them up. One heavy with starfighters. One with missiles. Tempting. Well, that is the thing. You always have to remember. You can go in, and this is the point. Me talking about fields of fire and all around. That's positioning your ship as constant, and your enemies come around it. You can always do that, and then all your cannon can fire at them. Flip the ship, because it doesn't matter in space, especially as if you're presuming doing that, you've got your own gravity generation gear, so your crew aren't going to notice it. So you might as well go inverted. You can do all sorts of fun things then. But the point again I want to make is in space combat doctrine, your enemy can come from anywhere. You have to think of that. They could be hiding in a gas giant, so you can't see them. They can be all in the asteroid belt, so you can't see them. And the odds are you're going to have to go in after them. Which is one of the reasons why you have fighters, because let's be honest, fighters are an inexpensive thing to send into an asteroid belt. You don't want to send your expensive Star Destroyer. No one wants to send your big capital ship in there. But to do that, then, you have to have a decent fighter to send in. And McGlass, sunglasses. The wedge shape does allow broadside firepower to be directed forward. It does, but if you consider the way they are stacked in, that would be kind of difficult with the way they've been positioned on the Venator. It does mean to give that advantage on the Imperials, and certainly gives that advantage in the Venators in terms of their point defences, if they are point onto enemy fighters where they are launching their fighters to. And there is actually a sort of a sensibility for it, because I suppose you don't want to be firing straight over where all your fighters are coming out, but your fighters, once they're gone, they're gone. You close the hangar bay and get on with the job. Dan Freeman, Joshua Peter, Tier 1, I think there's no wind up. Besides, clearly, the amateur class was the inspiration. Sorry, convince him to do more of this? Surely you jest. Ladies and gentlemen, currently I'm getting a lot of messages from people going, World of Warships is doing a Lexington class World War II equivalent upgrade, and I so want to see that before it comes out, because I have some ideas about what it might have looked like by World War II. Anyway, Ben Simons, the thing people forget is you can put guns on the sides to cover above and below. Yes, you can. I was trying to convince you on Discord to offer my services for this episode. Likely there'll be more to come. There will be more to come. Actually, one of the things we have been considering doing is doing another Bilge Pumps special. So we're still deciding on sci-fi themed one. So we might end up doing Star Wars and inviting everyone on. Shimmy, Darth Vader would send the fleet in for one ship. Oh, yeah. Jeff, the Type 21 frigates named me Inspiration Class. Please don't bring that up. One of them was also a submarine at one point, and one of them was a floating bomb. Darius was answering it. The Venator needs the bridge structure to go all the way to the bow and have cannons on it, going up like the Atlanta class. No, but you could have some cannons going up there. That would be quite cool. I sort of have a medium cannon set up above. Yeah. The ARC-170 is the P-61 Black Widow. I always thought it was more like the P-51 Lightning. Not 51, is it? Yeah. Okay, the following ships we'll be talking through, but I'm going to be missing out the obvious problem with them right until we get the end. Battlecruiser? OD Lexington? Yeah. The Lexington Battlecruiser was sweet. So we have the Victory class. What was interesting about the Victory class was, when I opened this book, which is an encyclopedia, I immediately went, where is the Victory class? They have the Imperial class destroyer, but no Victory class there. Okay, so I thought they must be in the Republic era. After all, it comes in the Victoria class. They have the Venator class. They have no Victory class in here. They do have a Tri-Fighter, which always worries me, that name. Now, the interesting thing about the Victory class is they're pretty darn crucial. Because they are sort of the halfway stop between the Venator and what comes next. Ooh. They are equipped with 10 quad turbo laser batteries on port and starboard, 40 double turbo laser batteries, 10 forward, 15 to port, and 15 starboard, so none aft again. Concussion missile tube launchers, able to 80 of them. That's useful. They are pretty darn useful. However, they have a small problem. They have just, well, 24 fighters. They are 57 million credits. They are 900 meters long. They have, as far as I can see, no point defenses at all. Well, no, I tell a lie. They have 10 light turbo quad lasers, 20 heavy double turbo laser turbo laser cannons, and that's it. No, that's the alternate configuration. That's not even that. No, they just don't. They do not have point defense. And they have 24 fighters as their point defense. They have 24 TIE fighters as their point defense, and they have no point defense. I don't care what your doctrine is. If I have got something up there which costs me millions upon millions of credits, which is billions upon billions of pounds, or whatever it is, how do I put this politely? I spent some money on some frickin' close-in weapon systems. It's like the British government at the moment talking about future generations of frigates, and again they're being built for, not with. They're actually being built with a Mark 41 VLS system, but they're not buying any missiles for it at the moment. And you sit there and go, why? On who hurts you? What happened to you that you think that that is a legitimate, sensible, coherent plan plan of action. I will buy something. I will it will have missiles on it. And yet, I will not actually put missiles in its VLS tubes. Just why? Peter Dawson, P-51 is Mustang, P-38 is Lightning. Thank you for that. Oh. Avian Enterprise. Well, in reality, asteroid fields are nowhere near as dense as featured in films. The capital ship should go in and out with no problem. Rings, on the other hand, might be different. Yes, but also, I would say, would you really want to take yourself into an asteroid field? Because if I blow up an asteroid, then you've got a lot of problems for your capital ship. And blowing up an asteroid is probably a lot easier for me to arrange as an ambush than blowing up a capital ship. So, no, I wouldn't want to take my capital ship into an asteroid field if I could avoid it. I would prefer to send fighters, because the thing is, I have met me. I have also met Drakenafel. Jamie has met both of us. He will tell you this. If they have anyone on their side, like either of us, you do not take yourself into an ambush position. It's not a case of if you're ambushed, it's a case of how big the fricking bomb is. Patrick for his house. Only thing I dislike about all the Star Destroyers is where the main bridge is. Well, that is particularly fun. Again, it's even a problem on the Venators. You sort of go back and go, why? Are you putting it up there to keep away from the radiation in the reactor? Because surely you could just build it in forward. Why are you sticking yourself up there? And that would... Do you need the extra space? Well, surely it'd be easier to build the ship slightly fatter. Or slightly longer than build that up. And then that gives you a lot more maneuverability. That's sure. Well, this is a random topic, but I love it. It's a patron-suggested topic, so it's what won the vote. So we can all blame Daniel Freeman. Any discussion of any chance for discussion on Stargate? If it is put as a patron-suggested topic, and I put it forward to the vote, then we can end up with Stargate. I can have a lot of fun with Stargate. I prefer Stargate ships to Star Wars ships. They actually make some sort of sense. They have weapons which cover their butts, for starters. That is the Victory I-Class. The Victory 2 is the Space Euro 2 version. Okay, fine. I will get the Victory 2 out. Mm-hmm. So the Victory 2, there I do have a picture of one of them there. The Victory 2 has 24 TIE fighters still, 20 turbo lasers, 20 double heavy turbo laser cannons, 10 ion cannons, heavy ion cannons, and 10 tractor beams. Still no sign of any point defense. And they've lost the concussion missiles. So, in a way, I feel robbed. In fact, I do feel robbed. Where are my concussions missiles? Where are my missiles? That just makes it worse. Anyway, sunglasses honestly makes me think of the two-seat B-wing variant. Ben Simmons, I do think point defense coverage is crucial. Missiles are all well and good, but just covering the sky is better. The angles are just as important. Also, 1 credit is roughly $1. In which case, they're cheap. There's something about your inflection saying a small problem leading to you're mildly understand and are mistaken as to the true definition. Mildly understanding the problem and or are mistaken as to the true definition of small. No, I'm British. When we say there's a small problem, we mean there's a giant freaking hole in the atmosphere and you're an idiot. for trying to suggest otherwise. It's like when we come from. It's like if you're ever dealing with a British person and we come and have a conversation with you, and then we say towards the end, and another thing, or while I'm here, I'd just like to, and that's the whole point we came. And if we say something is really brave, a position you're taking, it's pretty much British code for what in the name of all things apple crumble is wrong with you. Ben Simmons, I really like these Spanish ship designs. They're quite good, yeah. I was asking, missiles, why would you buy them? Some might trip and launch them. Outrageous. Yeah. That remining astrofields. Captain Sheridan in Babylon 5. Nukes. Nukes are what use for this. Yes. The question would be, how big a nuke do you let someone like me or Drakinafel loose with in an asteroid field? Shumi, starting to think the Tarkin Doctrine is looking for a big fleet fight and those little fighters are not involved. When they are the only ones building big ships. You've got it. Here's the thing. You're building a huge ship. You're turning out of a huge ship. Its presence. Well, hey! What's it going to do? Blast me from space. Basically, these ships have two options. They either incinerate a planet, which is not really a helpful long-term strategy for control, because it means you end up in charge of a load of parking lots, which, let's be honest, are only productive if you have people wanting to park on them. Or someone builds small fighters which can get inside your defensive perimeter and take out your whole ship. And I know the Empire ends up building little cruisers and destroyers that can protect them from fighters. But here's the dirty little secret. If you're building a sodding great big ship with a sodding massive power supply and it can't afford its own point defences to deal with any fighters coming in, you've got a problem. Because here is a trick. Take off a couple of those heavy turbo lasers. In fact, better still, mount them properly, because you've currently got them set up so they can fire broadsides. Fine. You want a broadside of 4. That's fine. I can achieve your broadside of 4 guaranteed every time with 4 turbo lasers. I will mount them centerline down the front in front of the ship. Then I have 4, and I have now halved the turbo lasers I require. I can add in extra capacitors, and I can use that space for some fricking point defenses. There are many options for me in how to fix this. Putting 4 systems on each side is not a good way of getting myself a broadside. In fact, here's how I'd be really cruel. I'd do a staggered V, and then they could all fire forward and all fire both sides. Because in hand wavium world, and also I'm presuming with the joy that is the fact you're firing heavy turbo lasers and all these sort of things, they won't ripple your hull when they're fired over it. So yeah, staggered a V.
Leon Peters. Q comments on Babylon 5 and Blackstar. I mean, I didn't even forgive Sheridan. Sir Night Owl, hello. And then the Imperial Navy has all these anti-fire corvettes class, stars and latex, but they refuse to use them in concert with the Star Destroyers. They're just never there. They're never freaking there. The whole thing is supposed to be a task group, but what? In nicest way, here's the thing. Then later on, the lovely First Order come with a sensible idea. Let's have a cruiser attach itself to a Star Destroyer. That's good. You have frigates which are anti-fighter frigates and anti-fighter corvettes. Have a couple of them attached to your Star Destroyer so they go with it wherever it goes. Tishan, I'm running a few minutes behind, but it seems Star Wars designs are suffering from a huge lack of close-in weapon systems. Someone chuck them a phalanx or two, please. Something. And ooh, shoot me. No, Tarkin Doctrine is like the Kantai Kassen, with the carriers taken and destroyers forgotten. And his sunglasses, are you saying Columbo is British? He certainly has British stylings. The thing is, the Empire does have a lot of smaller corvettes and cruisers that they are focused on focus points. Feels like an issue of over-specialisation. That, and they never actually escort Star Destroyers. They seem to never be where you need them. Answer, the famous story of the Battle of Imjin. It is a bit sticky. Yes. And the British staff officer basically turns around to the American and goes, send everything. The American goes, that sounds fine. So now, where can I find a podcast with Drac NFL? Bilge Pumps is on Simsec's site. It's on Simplecast, and you can. I usually tweet about it. I mean the Bilge Pumps thing. Yes. Flip side. The problem is that the Empire has no outside threats. Well, they actually do have outside threats. Thrawn comes from a place where they have outside threats. And of course, eventually there is the whole invasion of the Empire and of the New Republic after they've disbanded all the militaries, and that gives the First Order a chance to actually get back in a position of power. But, the Yuzhang Vong. But if you're preparing for the Yuzhang Vong, again, the Yuzhang Vong are fairly capable. You need point defense. Severs, nukes are great if you get them in contact or near contact. I wasn't planning on using the nukes on contact or near contact. I was planning on using the nukes to blow up an asteroid in the right when you bring your capital ship into an asteroid field. And my sunglasses. Have you seen the old Star Destroyer concept models with centerline batteries? They looked better. So sure. What you're saying is you need to have Jackie Fisher designing Star Wars ships. No, leave me and Drac alone for 10 minutes. We'll come up with good ships. That will be canon. Josh Peters, wait, I thought the Tarkin Doctrine was a creative way to actually avoid paying the actors. There's many, many reasons for the Tarkin Doctrine. I'm asking, but you have those powerful destroyers. They are powerful. They don't need an escort of such puny corvettes. They need something. Never be in lots of frigates, action light cruisers. Yeah, I know, Anime Sunglasses. I have studied them regularly, but they never show up. They show up in the games when you build them. Otherwise they don't. And again, as I said, you could take those 8 heavy turbo lasers they've got mounted. Again, they're all mounted on the top of the hull. None of them are mounted on the underneath. Why? There are no enemy ships going to appear from underneath. And if you really wanted to keep all 8, well, I do a sort of star formation with one here, one here, one here, and one mounted on the level above here, and have the reverse on the bottom, and
then you could you'd be able to fire 8 both sides, and all 8 forward. You wouldn't have any coverage to the rear, but that never seems to bother Star Wars. Actually, no. Probably the ones down the bottom could cover the rear if you position them right. Well, hey, I've solved that problem. Now to solve the whole weird... What in the name of all things holy went wrong up there thing? Look, I'm building this beautiful sleek ship. And then I'm gonna stick... I don't know. It looks like the alien from the movie where they go flying in a bicycle. I'm trying to remember the alien's name. I can't remember. But no, it does. That's what it looks like to me. Wayne Borin, note to self, put off reading scientific papers when listening to Dr. Clark. Laughing disturbs concentration. Also, send note to Disney that Dr. Clark is an advisor. Seriously, they've been fighting wars long enough, especially by the end of the Imperial period. You'd expect them to understand this concept. E.T., yes. I know, sunglasses, and thank you for that. And cinemas. The Mandalore has PDC, which appears to be anti-mid-sized frigate, not anti-fighter. Anyway, sunglasses. The medium batteries are usually mounted evenly top and bottom. Can't explain heavy though. Yeah. Heavy is just on the top. That just... Don't understand me. Don't understand me. And now... Let's go to the Ziston class. Thyston class. Well, I suppose I should be happy. They have a forward-firing weapon now. Am I the only one who thinks that whoever was designing it was, I don't know, compensating for something? But it's even bigger. Even more heavily armed. And still. Why? Why do you have your bridge up the top? Why do you have your heavy turbo laser batteries positioned as they are? Iron cannons. Lovely. Point defense laser cannons. You are 2,406 meters long. Your height depth is 682 meters. You have 40 point defense weapons on you. 40! Oh, and you only have 35 variable ordnance warhead launchers, i.e. what we would call a VLS. You're basically sending 30,000 personnel out on a ship with nothing to defend it. We got ships in Sector 47. It's a trap. It's always a trap. What do you think of the carrion spike? I'm not getting that. That'll be a long thing.
Its exposed its exposed vulnerables are its shield generators. If you really have to do that, if that's really where you have to position shield generators in order to work, then that's even more of a reason to build a slightly bigger ship and build them in and then stick the shield generators on the actual hull. Why? Carlos, no turbo lasers on the bottom, yet we saw them firing in the opening sequence of episode 4. Oh, yeah, we won't get into that. I was like, well, I can rationalize it, orbital bombardment, but that is literally a 1.5 scale model from Rogue One with a big gun added. Here's the thing I just like to point out. If you have no up and down in space, and you have a giant gun like that, why don't you mount it centerline inside the ship? Why do you need to have it on a turret? Why do you need to have it wandering around at all? Surely you can, if your whole thing is it's going to blow up a planet in one shot, surely you can afford the trouble of orientating your ship on that planet. Oh gosh, is it true that the 11-inch turbo laser batteries have better penetration than the Rebel's 13.5-inch turbo lasers? No. Lionheart, I can see you loving the idea of Tarkin Doctrine, but I guess execution the idea is what you don't like. Let's put it this way, if I was going to do the Tarkin Doctrine, I would be doing the Tarkin Doctrine, but I would be doing it with Venators and Acclimators. That's how I would enforce the Tarkin Doctrine. Because that thing turns up, you've got a nightmare. This thing can turn up rapidly and I can deploy a whole squadron of them with several thousand troops straight over your head to go, hello, we're all here to help. With your political views. We come with pamphlets and blasters. You can pick which. If you don't like my little friends, who turn up with pamphlets and blasters, this will turn up and blast you. But no, my real problem with all of these comes down to if you're going to have, well, A, you need to have decent point defense, and B, you have an attack fighter as your interceptor. Seneca Nero, they are comparable with World War I ships in terms of point defense. Nope. World War I ships had good point defense. Their point defense was mostly anti-destroyer and anti-torpedo boat. But you go and look up the Tegenhoff class. You go and look up the Francisco Curricula class. You go and look up the Iron Dukes. You go and look up the various American ones, standard class battleships. Look them up in their vertical configuration. They're good for their period in point defense. Vision. Windows and ship bays are proportionally the same size in a J.J. Abrams film too. Copy, enlarge, and paste Battlefleet. Assuming our resistance class, or in other words, we didn't have the budget to make new ships, so we just scaled up the Imperial class from last film and stuck a big gun on it. Oh, and painted a red stripe. Yeah, I'm still not sure about the red stripe. Dandrim, these are basically pre-dreadnoughts on space, aren't they? No, they're not. No, pre-dreadnoughts were actually far more logically armed. And your sunglasses. We never actually see any signs the Empire doesn't keep using acclamators. We do. They don't turn up in any of the battles. Because let's be honest, and this is part of the problem with having the Clone Wars, etc., done on all that sort of episodes 1, 2, 3, done all after episodes 4, 5, and 6. Because honestly, the acclamators would have made a lot of sense for the Empire, but they don't appear, so they don't using them. So they, according to the scripture, they get rid of them according to the canon. Gosras, when do you think Kathleen Kennedy will be given either a promotion out of Lucasfilm or a slew of Lifetime Achievement Awards? I think this is going to sound terrible to say, but I don't think. I don't know enough to really get into it and be sort of either way on the sort of the Kathleen Kennedy issue, but I would say this: if you look through the reality of the Star Wars scenario and some decisions made in it by George Lucas, not necessarily has she inherited the easiest job in the world. And it's finding someone who's willing to take it on and is trying to run it. And that's the trouble. Is you want, any time anyone says, "Oh, we want to get rid of this person," I always go, "Who are you going to replace them with? And does that person actually want that job?" And no, it won't be you. It won't be anyone randomly off the street. It will be someone who has to have a significant standing, because otherwise they will get walked over in that job. So, let's consider the TIE Fighter. As I pointed out, the Victories actually had 24 TIE Fighters, the others 72. But also, as I pointed out, the Venator class had 420 fighters. They had 192 interceptors for defense alone, and they still had more point defense systems than probably any pair of later the Star Destroyers. I'm sorry, it's not sensible. It's not the way you want to do these things. So, these are attack fighters. They are zeros. That is what a TIE fighter is. If you look at when they're using the small fighters that the Venators produced, that the V-Wings, that these are based off of apparently in canon, and what kind of, they are used as nimble attack aircraft. They dodge in, they're blasting, they're moving. They are not tied to a position where they're having to defend. There is a reason the Hellcat, Wildcat, Bearcat are big, solid fighters. They are big, solid, tough aircraft because their primary mission they're being built for is not long-range reconnaissance, which is part of the British fighter profile, not dive bombing, which is part of the Skewer profile. Their job is defense of the fleet. That's what they're built for. So, if you are building a fighter which main job is going to be defense of your Star Destroyers because you have so few point defense on it, it needs to be a strong fighter. Either that, or you need to put some proper point defense on your capital ships and let your attack fighters go off and attack, because these are designed to swarm enemy. Only small things moving fast, can't keep pace, bum 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 bum, I've lost my ship. That is what a TIE fighter's answers to do. That is what a TIE fighter really is designed to do. That's its offensive role. It's never allowed to be used that way. Look at those big battles. We talk about Endor. We talk about all these battles. Look at how the TIE fighters are used. Whenever we see the TIE fighters, they're running into literally enemy X-Wings, heavy fighters in the attack, and they are having to play defense, and they are not defensive fighters. They don't even have proper shielding. Seneca. Okay, then these ships are about as good in point defense as pre-dreadnoughts were against World War II aircraft. That would agree. Alan Sunglasses, the Zittel or whatever, convincing me that the model making team had completely given up at some point in episode 9 production. Possibly. That's right, so they have acclimated twos, but their orbital bombardment vessels are not armed invasion transports. Vision, if George Lucas had done episodes 1, 2 and 3 first, there would have been no episodes 4, 5 and 6. Potentially. Or potentially episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 might make logical continuity. Take care, Liam Piers me Malone. Enjoy your game writing. This one, I presume this is Kathleen Kennedy. It literally said that Marvel had a better time as it had background material work, whereas Star Wars doesn't. Like what? Well, the thing is, Marvel has, I would say, possibly what she was suggesting at this point, and I would agree to an extent. Marvel and DC both have an advantage over Star Wars in that they have a very well documented canon and standard that they have got a lot of, and they've had a lot of writers and a lot of thoughts in from the beginning. And also Marvel did have Stan Lee, who, for all his faults, and everyone has them, you have to admit ran a pretty tight ship when it came to this thing has to have some logic. And you look at the ship designs and you look at the organization and the equipment in Marvel. Look at even the freaking helicarriers. If there is anything which you would think would be a design which could have weaknesses and all sorts of silly stuff played with it, it would be the helicarrier. And actually, they all turn out pretty decent. Anime Sunglasses. TIE Fighters came from the Eta 2 lineage. They did, but they came from the V-Wing lineage. When I say that, TIE Fighter was a defendant. TIE Fighter was a defendant, a TIE Starfighter and V-Wing Starfighter, manufactured by Cinear Fleet Systems, and that is quote directly from Wikipedia and from this book. So, and from the other book. So, it's a case of it is actually a descendant of that. The fighters can, you build the X-Wing, or say TIE Defender, oddly enough. TIE Defender looks pretty good as well. Again, that's Thrawn's work, and Thrawn does seem to be slightly more organised. Back in the days, TIEs were designed to be mass-produced, disposable, yet almost maintenance-free. A kind of peacetime anti-piracy fleet. lovely, but in the nicest way, you're then making them responsible for defending your massive capital units, and there are problems here. So here's a question. You must like the Lucre Hulk class ship. I'll make sure I see it, remember if I've got a picture of it. The droid control ship is not in this one. Well, 1500 fighters does make for a fun time, but honestly, the more I like about the Lucre Hulk is the fact that they can take off the center, because it's a modified trade ship. It is. It's basically you take your core ship and you put on what is a battleship outer ring. It makes sense. It does have a lot of capabilities into it. I myself would point out that, well, let's put it this way. Lucre Hulk, Lucre Hulk, Lucre Hulk. I have the picture. I found it and stuck it in position. No, it's not that one. It's not that. It's not that one. Bum, 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 bum. Is it that one? Yes, it is. There you go. It makes sense. You have a lot of fighters, but there again, I can start talking about the droid fighters and the various problems they have. Why you would build a droid fighter and then not give it range, I do not know. What on earth were you on going, oh, we save money by doing that? You wouldn't. In real life, you wouldn't, because that would cost money. It would require you more to operate more fighters. Can see force. The TIEs did well, the Yavin. Equal kill-loss ratio in ignoring the trench run kills. And they had decent shields. Stood up to a few shots from Falcon, and even X-Wings went down to 1 to 2 hits. Ryland. Right. Patreon. March and DC have the advantage that they have in comics relaunched canon several times. Star Wars and Star Trek have one continuous canon, causing fan anger when they're reimagined in new works. Dan had X-ray. So you would do what Thrawn did and develop the TIE Defender? Possibly. I would also put in point defences. Actually, see, I don't think Thrawn is just non-human. I think Thrawn represents... Well, honestly, I have a feeling Thrawn, me and Drac would have a nice conversation
and Jamie would sit there and go, "Why are you all discussing art? Let's discuss ship designs." No, Jamie would actually be winning the art discussion. Wayne Borden, talking Star Trek, the guy who owns Star Trek original series of gaming rights is experienced military, so his ship designs make a lot of sense. Roland Cash, you know why you were timed out for a bit. I have little cousins who watch this. Senator Canera, TIE fighters take up way more space in storage than any other fighter that isn't a TIE variant. Least amount of fighter and the most amount of space. I would agree with that, because look at those. If they folded up, that would make sense. You could store dozens of them then. But they would just sort of have to sort of fold up like so. Done. But they don't. No idea. No idea. They don't. It's a case of it's no one's thinking through, and space is always a premium, especially in space. You won't have infinite space on your ship. That's right. I confess I bowed out after episode 7 in Rogue One. Rogue One was a good. I haven't seen 7, 8, or 9. Actually, I haven't watched 1, 2, and 3 either. I don't know, I might have watched 1. I think I did watch 1. I seem to remember the Naboo fighters, they were good. But after a certain point, I just got fed up with some of the inconsistencies. I still like to look up designs, and I get the books, and I enjoy reading about the ships and trying to work them out, though, as sort of an interesting thing. But, you know, here you go. You have the TIE Esky fighter. Cool. But it is more speeder than fighter, as they write in the book. Fine. And then, of course, there is the good old Corellian Corvettes, which are lovely ships, but again have small issues. But I could change that quite easily, because Corellian Corvettes are very easy to modify. But they aren't the ships we're looking at today. Today we are looking at the big ships, because, frankly, why not? I don't know. Jenna, from was scary because he was so cerebral. The best opponents usually are. General Thatcher, let's be honest, the Empire was made to be British and the rebels New Republic were Americans. The trouble is they weren't British, because the British would never have done that. I think the Empire was supposed to be Nazi Germany, and the rebels were supposed to be possibly Americans. Or one version of America. So, I kept talking about things which are forgotten. Here is one which is forgotten, the Secutor class. Okay?
guess what? We've been talking this whole time, and they do have a carrier.
Which carries twice as many fighters as a Star Destroyer. It's called a Secutor class.
Heavy turbo laser batteries, 15. Light turbo lasers, 15. So, some form of point defense. Ion cannon batteries, 5. Ion cannon turrets, 10. Heavy ion cannons, no mention of how many. Medium ion cannons, 16. Lots of systems for disabling other enemy ships. Carries 80 series walkers, ground assault vehicles, landing craft, shuttles, starfighters, 144 utility vehicles. 40,000 officers, pilots, and enlisted crew. Can carry 14,000 soldiers. It's basically, they're not quite as good Venator that the lovely people in the Empire will actually use. You could even probably argue it's a variation on the Acclamator class. It probably looks slightly closer than them, but no. It's only got one fin rather than the dual fin up, but it's got 2 points on that fin, so, you know, halfway between the two, maybe. Shimmy, and not having the Infinite Space Initiative. Dr. Clark meet Doctor Who. I know Doctor Who. I enjoy Doctor Who. But the TARDIS is not that common in space combat. The Naval fighter. Yes, a tiny more elevation of the cockpit and a little touch would have given a magnitudes better view for the pilot. Oh yes. Lots of options with the old Naboo fighter. And again, this is going to sound strange. So, we believe Naboo produce the fighter, and Naboo also produce the Queen's starship. Now, if I'm going to have a Queen starship, which apparently the Naboo does, but this size, I would think, well, A, it can't go anywhere without an escort, so I need a ship just as fast as it, which can fight. Okay, I'll build that, because take out all those royal quarters, I can put in some hefty different weapon systems and power generation and shielding. Cool. Next thing. Well, why have just one of them? Have a few. And I have a squadron of these. And if you have a squadron of these protecting your planet, along with those fighters, then, in theory, any blockade which turns up should not be there for much longer. Because the level of force it's got to bring to try and beat them is that much greater. But no, a nice secular class. Well, the idea of the Empire being racist was something writers had to incorporate because West End Games decided that the Empire was human supremacists. To be honest, they were already. And so the Empire has British accents, but no, they're Nazi Germany. The rebellion is an American take on French resistance. Should be Dutch resistance. Or possibly, let's be honest, Yugoslavia was the only resistance which actually managed to free itself. But there again, they had Tito. It's also a lot larger than ISD. It's cooler than ISD. Wrong cash. Sorry for my weird language, Dr. Clark. I know, but as I said, there was a small punishment, but that was it. Mainly because, as you remember, little cousins watched us. I do get the text messages and the whack round to your head. Ryan Cosmos, who are the Jedi supposed to be an allegory for? I don't know. Everything good in the world. They all seem to be warrior hippies, so perhaps that's it. Or samurai of some kind. Then there's the interdictor class. Okay. Here is a small thing. Just a small smidgen of a thing. Just a teeny little thing. If I have an interdictor class, and they exist, and I'm engaging a rebel base, well, I'd have one of these with me to stop them escaping, wouldn't you? At least one. And if I'm deploying my planet-destroying, moon-sized death ray, again, I'd have one of these along with it, because how do I stop any enemy forces from actually being able to get away once they get... And also, great thing is, if I had this on, then any enemy scout ships who come in, they won't be able to get away. They'll turn up. They'll see it. They'll think, oh, we know where the Death Star is. We can't get away. Where's the freaking Interdictor Star Destroyer? And then you find it sitting between two Secular class Star Destroyers going, hello, we have 288 fighters between us. We have some version of point defense because we have light turbo lasers. So, yeah. Combined with the 24 starfighters from the Interdictor class, we have got about 160 odd fighters coming towards you now, and the remaining 140 odd are providing a defensive screen. So if you wouldn't mind waiting there, they'll beat you up shortly. That makes sense, but no, we do not see this. The point I'm trying to make is that the Empire shouldn't freaking lose. They have a humongous military, they have all this equipment, and yet they allow themselves to get into a standing battle where the Emperor, who apparently holds the Empire together solely and no one else can do so, is aboard a half-completed mobile space station, and they have a large fleet around them, but instead of running that fight, they are concentrating on what? Who's running that fight? Surely there's someone competent in charge of the forces. No. Senator Kinnear, what you really need is a frontline ship that carries your whole government. We'll be getting into that in a second. Jonah, does that mean the exit class the Musashi Turpits? Something. Teleporters are interdictors. Retconning at its finest. Yes, well, if you have them, if they exist, then use them. If you're not using them, then they mustn't have existed. Wayne Borian, the crew numbers on these ships are just wrong. The use of droids should drop main crew to less than a tenth of what is shown. Also, you put troops on assault ships. Unless you're worried about boarding. But then again, don't get me started. Interdictor nesters. Well, the first one had it built in as they caught the Falcon before they even realized it wasn't Moon. Yes, that was thanks to its tractors beams. Not it didn't have gravity well induced projectors. Although that would have been sensible. Banham, the most infuriating thing for me is crew size. 58,000 people. Well, yeah, that would be an interesting thing to try and support. And especially if you're taking 2 years' worth of food for those 58,000 people. That's a lot of food. John, doesn't the Galactic Empire reflect the historical trend where totalitarian regimes tend to abandon military reason in favour of symbolism and party politics? Yes and no. In that, to an extent, yes. But they also have other things going on there, apparently, they claim to have going on there, so... And the Sith have run empires before in their time and been pretty darn efficient. And usually the thing is, the Sith are prepared to use the Force to be in power, and they usually are pretty controlled and organised on it. They often tend to lose because, of course, that wouldn't be a good story if the Sith won. But yeah. Re-Battle of Endor. The Emperor ran that battle. Luke was more important than the Rebellion and Vader's fleet. In fact, Darkseid compelled its users, addicts, to regularly kill or send their subordinates to their death. You see, there are two problems here with that. Is that that's retconned in. A, the Sith have run empires in the past. Not nice places to be, but they've run empires. And the rule of two, lovely system though it is, it's all about preserving power of the dark side and control. But more, if you're not going to be running the battle, and he wasn't, surely there is a chain of command below it who are in charge, who are admirals and commanders to run the battle. The fleet commander, because if Vader is off running, if that's Vader's fleet, which is what we're led to believe, that's supposed to be securing it, along with ships which are supposedly the escort of the Emperor, there's got to be a command structure in place. Vision, I'm worried. Well, both Churchill and George VI wanted to be off the beaches on the ship on D-Day. Had to be talked out of it. Yep. Although there is different debates as whether it was George VI wanted to be there, and Church on the hearing said, "Well, I'd have to be there as well if you're there, Your Majesty," or whether Churchill wanted to be there, and George V said, well, I'll have to be there if you're there, because I can't, my Prime Minister can't go where I fear to tread. And they cancelled each other out. I'm not quite sure. But both arguing for it did certainly make them look good and added a good story to the history. The way that Thrawn explained the battle in Heir to the Emperor was that the Emperor was too much of a control freak. When he died, the fleet went to pot. That could well be the case. The Sith Empire was the one retconned in, actually. Well, there have been all sorts of empires added in. Admiral Piet was in charge with strict orders to just cut off the rebels escaping. And how Piet was promoted. That's fun. But no, we're going to move on from the Interdictors because, yeah, it's the Executors. So, 19,000 meters, so 19 kilometers long. Thousands of turbo lasers, iron castles, iron cannons, missile launchers, and tractor beams. Carries more than 1,000 ships, including TIE fighters. Wonderful! Why in all the name of things holy, if it's 19,000 meters long, is the fricking bridge sticking out on the top? Why? Yes, we have developed the Command Information Control Center, the CIC. Yes, we can receive data anywhere in the ship. But we're going to command everything from the bridge. I'm not saying you wouldn't have a bridge. You might well have a bridge with a viewpoint. I have enough trouble with Star Trek, and they stick theirs up on the top anyway in the source section. That's one thing, sticking up on the top of a little bit. Sticking it up, absolutely poking out above everything. You're not a freaking aircraft carrier. You don't have a flight deck on your side in an island structure. You don't. That's right, because it was retconned to be 19 kilometers from 9 kilometers. Why the bridge sticks out? Pointing out the British lack of use of armoured conning tower. To be honest, the British take out the conning tower because no one's going in it, so there's no point in it. Because it's cool. What don't you understand? Was so many problems with that statement. Oh. No, there are lots of problems with the Executor class. This one, you needed a battle bridge like the USS Enterprise. You needed something. Benjamin, given the politics of rebel leader Mon Mothma, the Empire becoming a new republic would have made more sense. Just as the New Republic became the Empire after a coup by a small minority. If there was a few fairy swordfish in the back of the hammer, they might have done well. I'm still waiting for one to appear on HMS Queen Elizabeth. Agnes, can an Imperial Star Destroyer finish Hangar Bay? I know what you're aiming for eventually. So, let's talk about it. The Resurgent class. It's ugly. I'm sorry. That thing's not exactly attractive in my world. But then there's that one which just looks weird. That one looks cool. That weird. But they are striking in their own way. This looks ugly. Honestly, that looks like someone's just dropped a pile of something on top of a pyramid. Admittedly, they haven't got the weird thing sticking out at the strange angle like it sticking out above like it used to. But still, and it brings its own crews with it. Back in a second. Someone's just popped to my door. Ay, caramba. But seriously, why? It's ugly. It is ugly. Benedict Sims. Symmetry is crucial for good-looking ships. To be honest, I prefer some decent point defense. Symmetry good, though. To be honest, this thing can carry a cruiser, which is great. Probably needs to. That's good. That'd be good. Finally, a Star Destroyer is turning up a cruiser to support it against enemy fighters. But as you keep pointing out, a nuclear Hulk, even with its interesting fighters, could probably do damage to it. Why? You've already got all these. You've got all sorts of things going on, including those that come in later. And you have to bring in this. The Resurgent is from New Order. As is the Young Anger. No. And then we have this. Amazing. You can dock whole Star Destroyers with it to fix and maintain them. But here is the thing. Why would you want to? Let me add another sort of question. Why do you want the Mega Class Star Dreadnought? What is it really going to give you? It's supremacy. It's the flagship of Supreme Leader Snoke. The de facto capital of First Order. And it gets rammed by Amlin Holdo at near night speed, apparently, which slices it in two, destroys a number of its escorting the resurgent Star Destroyers, and destroys it, and suddenly you have lost everything this gives you. It can dock 6 Star Destroyers externally, 2 Star Destroyers internally, carry thousands of space superiority fighters, can apparently carry a crew of 2,225,000. It's 60 kilometers wide and 13 kilometers long. So it's actually shorter than this, which is 19 kilometers long. But a lot wider at 60 kilometers wide. Why? What is the point? Okay, yes, I'm sure there is a legitimate reason in Star Wars land, maybe, you know. The idea that building something which goes around carrying your whole fleet, whole structure, everything seems sensible. But it doesn't in reality. In reality, you would not build just one of these. If you were going to build them, you'd have to build a class. You'd be looking at least 3, if not 4. Because you wouldn't want to be dependent. It becomes a single point of failure. Secondly, let's put it this way. If the First Order builds this, the whole point is the First Order is allowed to exist as long as the Republic doesn't think they're a threat. The moment the Republic thinks they're a threat, then bad things start to happen. Is it a Goshawk? Let me just look it up. And I'm just about to bring up what that bad thing is set to happen if I can find the picture. Well, your 2 options are add source. I don't mean this. Right then. Well, a Starhawk might turn up. That's always a fun thing. Or the other thing, the lovely New Republic decides it's going to start building is the Nebula class. So, if you build something the size of this, you immediately become a threat, in which case fleets of these things will turn up. Well, that and that. Okay. Because the New Republic cannot afford someone to be going around with something as massive as this. You are immediately a threat. You immediately become a threat which they are going to have to focus on. Because, in nicest way, there are people alive at this time who remember what was like under the Empire. They won't want you coming and taking them over. Alistair Shaw, you compare it to Atlantis, but even Atlantis is stupid. Atlantis is one of a fleet. The point about Atlantis is it's not the only one. They have dozens, nay, possibly hundreds of city ships of the size of Atlantis. Yes, it's massive. Yes, it's a colossal ship. It's a city ship. But the Atlanteans build hundreds of them. So, yes, you find one and you go, it's really big. Yeah, it's pointless because it's one. But the thing is, they don't just have one; they have hundreds of them. So it makes sense. That's just the size of scale of ship they work in. That's their common ship. It's colossal, but which gives you all sorts of questions about how come the various groups were able to fight them so well. It shows how terrible the Atlanteans were actually at combat, because they seem to lose to everyone, even though they have massive ships with supposedly super advanced weaponry on, but leave that on one side. Excellent. I highly expected to transform into an interstellar maid with vacuum cleaner. It's something. Something like that would be like Brazil joining Anglo-German naval race by building Yamato in 1910 and nobody wondering why. Pretty much. Nebula is good looking but needs more turret scope. I would agree. Vision, I love how the New Republic loses everything in one trip to the rest from the cinema. In 5 minutes, the First Order takes over everything. It does seem rather amazing that they managed that one. I'm not getting into the Starhawk. There are some problems with its design. Mostly, again, like with many of the Star Wars ships, they seem to not have this concept of being attacked from behind. However, I would like to point out something truly amazing, which I have noticed in the Nebula, which I feel is worthy of being talked about, considered, and consulted upon, and it's this. Please notice, they have guns on the center line! Woohoo! And because of the way the guns are, how do I put this, positioned,
they can actually all fire forward over each other. They've got super firing guns. It's amazing. And they have guns on the bottom. See? It's like someone's actually paying some attention. Now, the Star Destroyer apparently costs the Nebula costs 168.5 million credits. It's a little over a kilometre long. It has a Class 1 hyperdrive and a Class 10 backup. It's equipped with shielding, sensor systems and targeting systems. It has heavy turbo laser batteries, 10 forward, 10 aft, 10 port and 10 starboard. Woohoo! It has guns which can fire backwards. It's got turbo laser cannons, 10 forward, 10 aft, 10 port, 10 starboard. Again, good, I'm liking this. It has ion cannons, 20 of them, 5 forward, 5 aft, 5 port, 5 starboard. I'm really liking this. It has assault concussion missile tubes, 8 turreted with 30 missiles in each. 8 turrets. 30 missile tubes in each. And it's described as having many pulse cannons for close in the fence. It does still carry 60 starfighters and 12 transports, but they carry E-wings, A-wings, and even upgraded X-wings. Occasionally K-wings and some Defender starfighters. They can carry 1,600 troops, but only consumables for up to 5 or 6 months in that position. They're just so lovely, you know. It's a proper ship. Come on. We'll get rid of the ugly one, which is disturbing me on many, many levels, and we'll put in the pretty ones. They are the pretty ones. This is pretty, but it disturbs me on different levels. Right, let's get to the questions, because they might be going past me. Alistair Shaw, hello, Bound Home. Hello, Alistair Shaw, hello, welcome. I think I've said hello to Eric. Ooh, do. And the rear turrets can fire. It's amazing. They can shoot backwards. This is a beautiful ship. This looks very, very good, but it is very, very focused on firing forward. So it's kind of like this will make sense when you see the video which comes out at 1 PM next Sunday. Not this Sunday coming, but the following Sunday. This is the South Dakotas. This is the M3s.
I was thinking, well, Nelson, Rodney, Dunkirk, and Wrigley were also not designed to be attacked from. Yeah, yeah. I mention this often enough. Don't worry. Um, Somebody please gift that for Discord. Oh. Division. Star Wars should have gone all Jutland by having command officers in spacesuits directing the battle from on top of the outer hull plating. Oh, that would have been funny. The guy named that. His head popping in and out of that little gap was wonderful. I just recovered from laughing. Well, I was trying to point out how cute it was. Because they would have to start zigzagging. Are these ships canon? They are on Wikipedia and they are listed as canon, yes. But they're about as canon as anything ever is in Star Wars, in that they can disappear. They've been, and their class appeared in Before the Storm, Spectre of the Past, and Invasion Revelations 3 and Invasion Revelations 5. And let me find the Starhawk. There are two marks of Starhawks, and they have appeared in Battlefront, Squadrons, Aftermath, Life Debt, the Victory's Price, Empire, Aftermath, Empire's End, Starship Graveyard, The Legends of Luke Skywalker, and The Last Jedi Expanded Edition, and Star Wars Galaxy Edition. The Mark 1. Pretty nice. Mark 2, slightly better. And they basically construct them, these ones, by taking Imperial Star Destroyers and splitting them apart and putting their parts together. Remember, the Starhawks were quickly kit bashed from Star Destroyer scraps as a heavily armoured assault ship, so they are correctly designed for that role. I would agree. Eric on, but anyone who got a license to produce a work had to accept everything they had that had been done before, no matter how bad it was. Andres Gallardo Garcia, what is your opinion of Space Battleship Yamato? I haven't studied enough really to be certain. Transforming these New Republic ships can flip nose to tail and keep a minimal profile facing enemy. Yes, and notice something I would like to point out on this Star Destroyer. Notice there is no weird bridge. Okay? Nothing. It's brilliant. I like the Nebula class. Melee 16 or 40. Hello, Terrence Telenko. Okay. SBY looks cool, but even more two-dimensional. Star Destroyer like Age Missing Apparel. Disappear. Melee 640. Disappear or disappear in blinding flash of short-lived sun from whence used to be a vessel. Both are fun. This one, Lucas always looked at any work to okay it. Some of the best changes, additions to expanding the universe were due to him. He sought to maintain a general aesthetic. He tried his best. You can certainly say that. Bam, bam. Yeah, that was the last one of these. I will go to these pictures because, frankly, I prefer these. They're cuter. I have problems with the God. I do have problems with the Starhawk. I do understand it's an assault battleship and all sorts of lovely, legitimate reasons for why it is what it is. But it has octuple turbo laser batteries, forward-mounted heavy turbo laser batteries, 24. Battleship ion cannon turrets, 40 of them. Forward-mounted battleship ion cannon batteries, 4 of them. Hull-mounted concussion missile launchers, 32. And 36-point defense laser cannons. Ion torpedoes and magnite crystal tractor beam arrays. But they are 2.4 kilometers long. And they carry consumables for 2 years, a crew of 33,650 officers and enlisted crew, and they can also carry 7,200 troops. So, this thing can carry 40,000 personnel. 40,000 personnel. In contrast, the Nebula is about 1 kilometre long, so it's about 2/5 of that one's length. It can operate on a minimum crew of 2,265. It can usually operate on a full crew of 7,050, and it can also carry 1,600 troops. So you could put 8,650 troops for personnel on board. So this will take is 2/5 of the size and takes 1/5 of the personnel. If you're filling it up to maximum, you can operate it on very nearly an 1/18 of the personnel. If I had to pick between these two, I'd be in this one every time. Because it's also got 15,000 metric tons of cargo capacity. And whilst it theoretically can take 6 months consumables, I would load it up with droids. I would load it up with its minimal number of crew. And I'd probably up its arms and its speed a bit. Well, no, its speed can't be up. It can't be armed and increased. It has a Class 1 hyperdrive rating.
And the other great thing is that they come with a variant. You see, you can get the lovely, and one has to admit this, lovely Nebula class Star Destroyer, or you can get from the same hull with a little bit of work, he says, a little bit of work, the Endurance class. Aren't they cute? And the Endurance class fleet carrier from the same hull, measures the same length, but can now carry up to 200 fighters, I think, from my reading of it. Only 5 months worth of consumables on its carrier version. Still has plenty of point defense laser cannons and iron cannons and some good turbo lasers. Loses out on the missiles. But let's be honest, if you've got, let's say, 3 of these, 1 of these and 1 of those coming your way, you're not going to be in a happy day if you're the, let's put it this way, the First Order. Because that is some fairly decent ships. I am still triggered to an extent by this bridge, I'm just ignoring it. Lucas always, it has exposed engines from the front, I've noticed. Yes and no. They have some things there, but if you look at the stern, you realise they have engines all across the front. And all across the back. Vision, yeah, I don't buy Starhawks being built from Star Destroyer pieces, just don't see the recycling of parts. Well, basically the hull and all things are sort of melded down, I suppose. It's just, it's gonna be fun. Hello, Counterface. That's fugly. Andrew McConnell. TIEs did not initially have hyperdrives. Most Rebel New Republic resistance fighters had hyperdrive. Huge advantage. Yep. Plebiscite. The Imperial Star Destroyer is 1.2 kilometers long. Yep. Or 1.6. It's something. 1.6 kilometers long. That makes more sense. I've decided that it has funny things on there because it's, how do I put this, doing fighter control. And they needed to maximise more space inside the hull for the increased personnel. Going guys, recrewing with droids. Except after the Clone Wars, the Trade Federation droid armies and some nasty incidents with assassin droids, no one wanted droid crews. Kind of like today's nuclear programs. Yeah, but I don't care. Andrew Cohen, hyperdrives mean rebels didn't need carriers most of the time and could operate from anywhere. I agree with that, but I still think, and this is the thing, if they had the opportunity, actually, I will get rid of this. Do that. Now, if they'd had the opportunity, they should, if I'd been, certainly if I'd been the rebels, even if I had gone, right then, I have all this capability, I have these X-Wings, etc., I would have still gone and found some Venators. And I'm sure they could have found some somewhere. And I have a reason for this, because the biggest problem you see for the rebels is when their bases get found. And the thing is, the Venator could be your base. You could have 3 or 4 of them operating. They've got, the good thing about Venators is they have this huge hatch here. You could put 3 of them or 4 of them or even more if you want. If you build a very quick temporary structure that connects up 3 or 4 of them, so you can operate as one big space base. There you've got your wings for your fighters, everything you need. The first sign that the lovely Empire turns up, bye-bye. Leave the structure behind, or blow it up, or have it break up into components or something that you can tuck into the... you can tuck quickly into the hangar bays. You could do it very easily if you could find a few Venators, and you cannot tell me that after being literally built by the 1,000 for the Clone Wars, that there are not a couple of dozen sitting around somewhere that the Empire doesn't really know where they are and isn't really watching. There. Oh, right, and I can just settle down like this. Let's go. Hello. Dan Freeman, that isn't a bridge on the Notta Nebula. That's a Flight Operations Auxiliary Flight Control Operations Center. Probably it is a bridge, let's be honest. It probably is facilities for running the ship, but that's more likely because to have a carrier in the same hull you're trying to build to the same length and same shape as you built your Star Destroyer, you probably need to have more space, because you probably need to move stuff out of the hull to accommodate the large hangar space. Will you look at the Providence class Dreadnought? Yeah, I'll be kind. Oh, yeah. Let's see if I can find a decent overlooking picture rather than one from just a simple view. Ah, the Providence class. The joy of the CAS. Providence class. Yeah, there is the Providence class. I'll stick the Nebula up above because the Nebula is prettier than the Providence class. I have to say, they carry 120 Vulture droid starfighters and 120 tri-fighters and 10 Hyena class droid bombers. So, again, you're talking 250 attack aircraft. This makes sense. I'm never quite sure about their crew numbers, but they apparently have consumables enough for 4 years. They are armed with 14 heavy quad turbo lasers, 34 heavy dual cannon lasers, 12 twin light point defense iron cannons, a couple of heavy iron cannons, some heavy flak guns, which would suggest quite good point defense going on here, 102 proton torpedo launchers with 5 proton torpedoes each, and 10 tractor beams, plus, yeah, droid gunships on top of those 250 fighter aircraft. And apparently 1.5 million battle droids. So they're not going to be running out of troops anytime soon. In any combat scenario. Yeah, they're nice ships. I personally prefer the Nebula, but we'll leave that to one side. Because in Star Wars Rebels they stole a small Imperial car and used it as a mobile base. That, again, makes sense. This transform reminds me, fighter droids are great because the later ones could just clamp to the outer hull, making them very fast to react. Adding fighters where none could be, or expanding existing capacity, definitely makes sense. The Venator is a good ship. If you combine the two wandering along together, that's quite a scary force. Dan Freeman, if I'm putting my fighters on Venator class ships and deploying them on those, do I need a space unicorn for deeper level maintenance? Well, let's put it this way. If you have... let's say your operation is 6 Venators. One will be your command ship, which will keep your also fighters aboard for defense of your formation. 4 will carry your attack wings, and 1 is your deep maintenance platform. Right, it is now 9:10, and I have a fluffy research assistant who would very much like me to give him a wander this evening. So, because I couldn't today, because it's been raining. So what I will say is I will answer questions and chat away till about 1:30, so another 15 or so minutes, and then I will have to go because I can hear the fluffy research assistant making himself heard. Right. I'm preferring to go that way round. What do we have coming up? We have dreadnoughts from around the world. We have 3rd of June Discord suggestions for ADFAB, Coastal Command in the 1920s. We have to close blockade or distant blockade on the 8th of June in long patrols. And we have favourite dreadnoughts and battleships and battle cruisers on 10th of June, which I am accepting suggestions for, if people have suggestions. Mm-hmm. Trendflanker, the Ventus simply seems a better all-round power projection platform than the Imperial Star Destroyers. Yep. If you're a crew of thousands, and both male and female crew, to go with 4 years of supplies, food, consumables, does that include 4 years of contraceptives, or just loads and loads of nappies? Probably both. Unless you are planning on, going the Alistair Shaw route. Coming as Venetus, the episodes 1 to 3 didn't make the skill check. Make the skill check for building a ship with better in real life tech, yet more primitive than earlier films. Harrier class Dreadnought is perhaps the most sensible of the Sith ships. Possibly. You have the water dog poodle that is afraid of water from the sky, don't you? Not really. He's not the biggest fan always of thunderstorms. But there aren't many dogs who are. Brent Paulus, what sci-fi can I watch that actually has good capital ship combat? Expanse is okay. Battlestar Galactica has moments. Star Trek doesn't. Star Wars, it's space magicians. Stargate does. That's quite good. When it has quite good stuff. And Babylon 5. Speaking of fluffies, I nodded off in the recliner. When I woke up, there was a large orange fluff on my chest, like 2-3 inches from my mouth, just purring away. They like that. Please take a look at the 1984 movie Ice Pirates, if you haven't. Then you might reconsider Droid Crew. Otherwise, thank you for life. Praise be. You see, the thing is, the Droid Crew and me can get on, because in my world, I would probably go for a Droid Crew like the Droid Crew on Farscape or Andromeda. They seem a fairly sensible option. Because check out the Quasar Fire class light carrier. One that was captured and used by the Rebel series. Cool, I will do. Lauren Cash, I'm not sure about Black House. How much, Lauren Cash, how much Iron Brew would you need for 4 years? Let's see, 4 years times, let's say. I'd probably need about 400 bottle of. Oh, hang on, 400. 450 bottles per year, so that's 1,800 bottles, so that's 3,600 litres of Iron Brew for me. We have done the executive class. I was not happy with them. I have watched Space Captain Harlock. That was pretty cool. I'm not sure about all the things in there, but yeah. I've had a droid crew like the Scuttles on Red Dwarf. Fair decent. Darren, re-AI droid crew, not the Andromeda Ascendant. I do like the Andromeda Ascendant. I do think her droid crew are very sensible.
Take out Wayne Boring. Your two fluffy need research assistants will visit the lawn. Good luck. And Run Cash. Bless. No dog loves the fun. No, they don't. So thank you again to all the super chats. It's supposed to provide me with a list I can quickly check. Thank you to everyone who has chatted away. Thank you to everyone who has liked the videos. Thank you to everyone who subscribed, shared the videos, or pressed the little bell down there to know when next live. Said I'm off for a research week, so you have got some recorded videos coming out, a lot of them. There have been reasons why recorded videos haven't necessarily gone up when they're supposed to this week, because there have been so many recordings going on for next week. And I hope you enjoyed them. Thank you very much. Right then. I'm going to keep going. As I said, I'm still answering questions for another 10 minutes, but I didn't want to forget to say thank yous. Guys, really fluffies. The rabbit just bit me, mistaking my finger for the banana I was feeding to it, and not my ears growing hair. Alpha, 3.5 tons of iron brew, 3.6 tons of iron brew. Character face. Given command of 3 vendors, what to name them? Probably formidable, furious, and ferocious. Oh. Take care, Cadderface. Take care, Adfab. Take care, Yickers. Thank you, Calvin Gazberg. Thank you, Dan Freeman for adminning. Thank you, Rick Vasava. Thank you, Band Home. Thank you, Jess P. Thank you. Well, have to hope Replicator's going to do a perfect job making Amber. If they can't, I'll reprogram them. Thank you, Trent Plenko. And let's see. Thank you, Melanie640. I'm not saying goodbye. I'm just trying to say thank you while the list is still working. Sometimes it doesn't, and then I have trouble. Thank you, Agnes. Thank you, everyone. The most vicious Klein Rex type pygmy with a Russian but that sounds like a scary rabbit. Glenn. Wow, I do about 1,300 litres of diet Sunkist orange. It's good times. Right. Take care, Adfab. Take care, Alistair Shaw. Thank you, Grace Husky. Take care, Matthias Slavic. Thank you, Constantine Erasmus. Take care, Sean Brennan and Roland Cash. Zachary Gherkin. Thank you. That guy named Dan. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. As said, what have we got coming up? Oh, thank you, Vision. We have all sorts of stuff coming up, and tomorrow morning the vote will go live on Patreon for a week, and I will get the results when next, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care, Farrell Ann. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Francois. Thank you. Take care. Take care, everyone. Thank you.